What's up everyone, we are back and we are doing another tips and tricks video for Last Epoch. So make sure you hit that like, subscribe button, and let's jump into it. First one we're going to go over is you can skip the campaign once you have keys, and you will get a lot of these. You need Lightless Armor, Soulfire Bastion, and Temporal Sanctum Key. Once you get to the Ruined Era and you get to the Council Chambers, you are going to see your first icon says Alternate Leveling Path. Now this is mainly made for people that have some uniques, some good leveling gear. You'll have plenty of those uniques if you've taken another character even remotely far and been saving your uniques, some of your rares, and some of your better equipment. You can make your way to the surface from the Council Chambers to the Alternate Leveling Path, go to the Lightless Arbor, and use the key to do this dungeon. That is going to spit you out at the Corrupted Lake, which will eventually take you, if you follow those winged boot icons, to the Soulfire Bastion. You do that one, it kicks you out close to the Temporal Sanctum, and you do that one finally to make it to the end game. Now you're thinking, oh, what about the quests and stuff that I just skipped? No, doing this method also gives you the idle slots and the passive points, so you don't miss anything. You start this at around level 22, I believe, is where I suggest you start doing the Lightless Arbor key, or where most people suggest doing this, and it's after you get your mastery around level 15 and you put your skill points into one of the 3 extra masteries. A quick tip about your pointer size: it scales off of your actual Windows pointer size. There is no option in the menu to change it. You have to go to your mouse settings, mouse pointer, and you can change the size of your mouse, which changes the size in your game. And crap, I don't remember what I had it at. This is gonna mess with my head. I guess I had it at 1. Let's make it 2. Yeah, now we're talking. I lied, that's obnoxious. Back to 1. The endurance stat is crazy useful, and if you're like me, when you first started playing the game, you saw endurance, and it just innately kind of looked like a worthless stat. I don't know if it's because video games have trained us to think endurance is stuff like extra stamina and just certain things that we usually don't go for. It's like, oh, that's not damage, that's not straight up defense, but it is actually amazing. What it does is it is kind of like petrified blood, if you have ever played Path of Exile, which means it protects your very lowest amount of health depending on the number of endurance. So you can see it says right here your endurance and your endurance threshold. Your endurance threshold means at what point your endurance kicks in. So right now on this character, when my health hits 343 or lower, I take 20% reduced damage from all sources. Endurance is kept to 60%, but do not ignore this stat. On this character it's actually pretty low. I personally need to look for gear that gives me some more endurance now that we actually looked at this, but just know it is incredibly important and very, very useful. If you are ever confused on what your skills get bonuses for, you can see that when you hover over your skills, they have scaling tags. That means if it says, something says melee damage, and you're wondering, oh, is my lunge gonna do more damage? It'd be a really dumb thing to think about. This is a movement skill. But you can see that it has a melee tag. So melee damage in general is going to scale with this. Any movement skill, any strength skill, dexterity skill, any kind of tag that says it increases any of these tags will do that. So if you're ever confused, just know you can highlight and look at the scaling tags. For example, my Warpath has a skill point in the thing that converts it to fire, so now it has the fire scaling tag, so I know increases to fire damage are going to scale this as well. Check the rolls on your items. You can hold Control and Alt and see how good of a roll you got on certain prefixes and suffixes. This is very important when you start slamming exalts into legendary potential uniques, which we're going to go over in this video too in a little bit. But so if you have a unique that you like, that you want to smash something into it, and it has really bad rolls, you can see the range of, say, increased fire damage over time on this is 42 to 72. It rolled 53%, so it is not amazing. But still, it's a 3 legendary potential. I'm obviously going to use this. But it's just a good way of, if you have maybe a couple uniques of the same type that have legendary potential, you can just kind of, or, you know, if you just have one, you just want to see the range, you know, you get the gist. You can use the ones that are better rolled from the get-go. There are 2 tiers of exalts. There is tier 6 and tier 7. You can check this by obviously going in the crafting menu or holding Control Alt. You can see this has a tier 6 elemental resistance roll, and a belt like this has a tier 7 elemental damage over time. I picked this belt because I just want to point out the damn good perfect rolls I got on damage with this belt, and I just kind of want to show off a little bit. Now, tier 7 exalts can only start dropping at level 90 plus areas. So once you start going to monoliths, they can start dropping once you get to the level 90 monoliths and above. So if, say, you're around this area, you have these unlocked, but this is a little bit tougher, and you kind of want to sway more towards something like 85, 80, this might be worth it to just push through because you have a chance of finding those tier 7 affixes. So I would try and get to the tier 90 stuff as quickly as possible. If you are getting relatively geared, this isn't extreme. Don't think, oh, I have to be level 90 to do these areas. I have been doing these areas since about level 78. Even though I have some pretty decent gear, I think around 80, you will easily be able to start doing these areas. So I would kind of sway towards getting level 90 plus so you could start seeing these happen. You can use the loot filter to highlight specific items with affixes that you want. So you can see in my loot filter, I held shift and I hit F to open the loot filter. I have the recolor one, but let's make a new one. I want to recolor something. I want to pick a nice bright color so I can see it easily, and I can also emphasize by capitalizing it if it falls. So let's capitalize it. We'll make it red. Add condition. I want a certain item type. I want a one-handed sword. So I'll go down here, click the one-handed sword, click confirm. Now I'm going to add another condition. I want a certain affix on it. The affix will be damage. So I'll click on this. I want fire damage. Elemental damage works also. So elemental damage, fire penetration even. There's fire damage. We can go down and do elemental damage over time because I'm a Ignite build and something like that. We can click confirm. And we can say only highlight the ones that have at least 2 of these affixes. So it does not have to drop all 4 affixes, although that would be pretty damn great. Actually, I don't think that's possible because I think 3 or 4 of them are actually prefixes. So we want these to drop. We want these to highlight if they drop with at least 2 of these. You can also set this to 1. So, you know, maybe find an exalted version has a lot of forging potential. You can mess with it and try and make it better. We click add and there we go. Now it is going to highlight and capitalize any item or one-handed sword that I want to find with those affixes. Now let's talk about making legendary items from exalted and uniques and smashing them together. This is done at the Temporal Sanctum. You probably do not have this waypoint yet if you are still watching this. If you go to the Imperial area and go to the Shining Cove, in the Shining Cove there is a purple portal that will take you to the Ruin Coast, which will then take you to the Temporal Sanctum. Now once you get here, you are going to find a door and you are going to need a Temporal Sanctum key. You will find a lot of these keys. You probably have a bunch on you already, but if you don't worry, you will find a lot of these keys. Use the key on the door, hit the Enter Sanctum. You can see there's different tiers. It'll start with item tier level 1, level 55, and then as you beat that, it keeps going up and up and up. Now what this changes is the unique item requirement that you can smash on. So at tier 1, you can only use the Forge to smash them together on legendary items up to level 50. Now, the exalted level does not matter, or at least in my experience smashing items, it doesn't. It is only the unique item. So just for this example, I'm using this Harbinger of Stars that has 1 legendary potential, so I can get 1 mod smashed onto it. That has a required level of 36, so I can do the lowest level because it says requirement of up to 50. Now, this belt is level 53, but that does matter. It is only the level of the unique that matters. When smashing items together, they have to be the same type, so they both have to be belts. I can't smash a ring, exalted ring onto a belt, and the item has to be exalted. So we are going to enter the level 1 tier dungeon, and when we go in, what this does, and there's always a gimmick in these dungeons, with this one, your hotkey D is going to switch you between timelines. Between 2 different timelines, the future and the past. You can see there is nothing here right now. If I hit D, it shifts me into a different timeline, and there's the door. As you are running through, if you look at the map, you see my mini map, you can see there are things that are blocked off. If I hit D, that is now open. What you want to do is keep switching between timelines. Whenever you hit a dead end, switch to the other timeline to try and find an opening. And by default, I run to the upper right first. Now the door to the next area can be in the left, it can be in the right, but generally it'll be up here. So you can just keep running forward, running through openings. If you ever hit a dead end, try and shift your way past it, just like this, to keep going to the upper right. Now you can see I am at the door. You can see the ring glowing, but I can't do anything with this door, so switch timelines. Now I can enter the door. Makes the next area a little bit harder. Keep in mind these dungeons also give you certain things, like you saw it, that this area has a higher chance of dropping exalted amulets. So these aren't terrible to farm either, especially if their daily mission, I like to call it, is that it drops a specific item type that you are currently looking for. Now once you do this a couple times, go through some rooms, you get to the boss door. It'll ask if you want to proceed to fight the boss. Yes, this boss uses the same mechanic to help you with it, with the D button to shift timelines. So when you go up, you can start fighting her. Once she starts some bullshit like this, you can hit D, go to the other timeline, say I want no part of that. I'll wait for you over here where stuff's a little bit more clear. So I can wait for her to come to me. She will do some more damage. If I didn't like what she was doing, or she started doing her one move where you start having to dodge stuff, there's another one, this one. You have to stay in the openings. I can say, no, I don't want to deal with that. I can go to the other timeline, wait for her here, and finish killing her. Or keep switching if she does her AoE moves. For example. Once you kill her, then you will have access to the Forge, Jolver Star Dial with 1 legendary potential. I am going to check these. Physical damage, health. Nothing crazy. Now, this is where you can combine your weapons. If you go to the Daylight area, this is where you can put a unique and an exalted. I can put this one with legendary potential. This has legendary potential. And I can put in an exalted belt to match it. Now, it only has 1 legendary potential, so at random, it is going to mash one of these mods onto this and make it a legendary. So this is just a garbage thing I'm doing. I don't really care about this belt. This, for example, I imagine I would want the exalted mod, so hopefully I would hope it would get 84 physical damage put onto it. So I'm going to seal the cache to combine it, and then you have to switch timelines. And then it will spit you out the legendary. I got the 13% physical resistance. It made it legendary, but it smashed it on there. That is how you make legendary weapons. Now, obviously, you want to try and wait till you have something with a little bit higher legendary potential, and you don't just want to start throwing away uniques and exalts. For example, I use a Firestarter's Torch for this build. I had a 2 legendary potential, and I was able to get increased damage over time. And, well, I guess that's it, because I have a chance to chill on it, which is kind of neat, I guess. But I am holding on to this legendary potential 3 Firestarter's Torch when I find a good Exalted Scepter that will be able to put some good mods or some better mods on it with that. You could see I've made some other cool stuff. I was able to get this 1 legendary potential Calamity Helm with some more fire damage, ignite duration, bleeding heart, some elemental damage over time. I was able to put some damage over time, increase fire damage on this relic for this build and stuff like that. And right now I'm hunting for a Sun Wraith that'll have some legendary potential, so I can give this even more damage, or maybe some tankiness. Maybe I'll get some endurance threshold, something like that, because obviously, like I said earlier, I am kind of missing it. But that is how you make really, really powerful items. And the last tip is, if you hit G, you can get to the game guide, and this is just a wiki in the actual game, and this thing's pretty awesome. There's pictures and all sorts of things you can go through, and you can obviously search. Like if you wanted to know more about endurance, you can click on endurance, and it gives you a more in-depth thing that you can do. I didn't know you could link article in chat too. That's also pretty cool. So if someone says in the chat, I don't know how to do this, you can literally just link it in the chat. But that's the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and get followed over on twitch.tv/SafeOnTalk, where I'm streaming Last Epoch a lot. Next week it's going to be a lot of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. By next week, I mean tonight at midnight. Very excited about that. So come hang out. A bunch of great guys over there. And yeah, we will see you on the next one.